Okay, so now that the gradebook is all kind of set up, you've set up your standards, it's about how we create assignments and quizzes and put them into the gradebook so that it shows up at those little squares that I mentioned. So I've created a little module here, and I'm just going to create a new assignment. And this title is important somewhere. So I'm just going to mention that because it'll come into play a little bit later. But the title of your assignment is important, and I would argue just calling it, naming it after the assessment makes more sense to me, but that's kind of your decision. Now that I have created it, I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit it. For the sake of kind of speeding things along, the real thing in the assignments I think that's valuable is the fact that I can mark it as complete or incomplete and not actually grade it for points. Again, my goal is to have students not looking at their scores, but focusing on those proficiency levels so that we can try and advance them. So I'm going to create a complete and incomplete for 0 points. It is going to be a online submission of text entry, and I am going to make that due, sure, today. If I were doing this as an assignment, I would write my quiz here, right? And I'm going to save the assignment. Notice that after I have written the assignment, but I am able to add a rubric. So when I click add a rubric, it allows me to kind of determine which rubric I'm dealing with. And this is where it's important. This is important here. So this is where the title is important because when a student is looking back at their individual gradebook, the assessments are labeled. And I would argue that in order for us to give effective feedback, the students need to look back and say, I didn't do well on that one, and try to remember what those were. And they can look back at their assignments anyway, but because of the way that the student gradebook is set up, this is important. And I would mirror this title to match that title. I'm doing the here and somewhere just to kind of emphasize. But if this were called coloring book, then I would call this coloring book. Notice that I could set up, just like I did before, proficiency scale. I don't want to do that over and over again. And I found issues if I create that over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the outcome. And here is the stuff that I have already done. So I'm going to select question. And just double checking that it's all right, I'm going to import it. It creates a new rubric, and I'm going to delete the old one. I could add an additional rubric if I wanted to assess multiple things, but I don't have to. And for me personally, redundancy. I am going to remove points from rubric because I don't want students focusing on those points. Again, the points only indicate where proficiency is. They aren't as productive in terms of learning. So here I go. I create that rubric, and my assignment is done.